What's up guys, the TV here, and I'm here with you for another recommended video. We got a lot of them this week, so that's really good. But yeah, recommend videos down in the comment section down below if you want me to, watch a video that you want me to, if you want me to react to a video that you love to watch. And yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, so this is what the far right is not telling you about Viktor Orban. And yeah, I kind of am interested in it. It's a Kraut video, so let's get into it and see how this plays out. Also, subscribe to the channel. When to get 1,000 subscribers by my birthday, September 13th. And thank you guys for 990 subscribers at the time of making this video. Yeah, maybe leave some comments down too, like some questions that you have for me, maybe, and I can answer them when I hit 1,000, and it'll be a whole video and stuff like that. So that'll be fun. Let's do that, and yeah, let's get into this video here. And play.
Mezros Lőrinc is one of Hungary's richest men, and he is one of the richest men in the world, but you probably never heard of him or his fortune. He's barely mentioned in any media outlets outside of Hungary, and his Wikipedia article comes only in French, Hungarian and Esperanto. 10 years ago, Mezros was however far removed from the wealth he has today. He was the owner of an unprofitable gas company at the brink of bankruptcy, based in the Hungarian town of Székesfehérvár. So how did he get to where he is now over the course of 10 years? As his business declined, a school friend and longtime companion of his fulfilled his own career goal. That friend was Viktor Orban, who was elected to the office of Hungarian Prime Minister. Shortly after election, Orban rescinded a law banning people in debt from running for public office, and Mezros ran and was elected mayor of Székesfehérvár as a member of the Fidesz party of his friend. Throughout the past 10 years, Mezros would become the recipient of some of the most profitable government construction contracts available in Hungary. Renovations of museums, contracts to build roads and repair roads, bridges, rail lines, and the building of new cultural institutions. Many of those contracts were worth billions, paid by Hungarian tax money and large EU financial grants, and some acquired under seemingly suspect circumstances.
Meggyőződésem, hogy ennek a munkának a legnagyobb nyertesei a két ország határán lévő települések és az ott élő emberek lesznek.
A contract to build a bridge crossing the river Danube in Komarom received an offer from a cheaper Slovakian company which passed all requirements set for construction, but when the contract was to be handed out, the company suddenly didn't receive the contract. Instead it was given to Mezros at a higher price. Mezros invested the fortune that he made through these public contracts in buying various Hungarian businesses, from real estate to banks, power plants, vineyards, media companies and tax-exempt football clubs. He is one of the most powerful men in today's Hungary, and he is also a symbol of something, a deeply flawed government with a deeply flawed prime minister of which much is not known.
I've heard more recently that Hungary's government is kind of like deeply flawed. Like I don't know, I've heard like a lot more about that recently. So I hope this kind of touches on it a lot.
To the outside world. Mezros Lőrinc is part of a group of people who did not exist in Hungary before Orban. Oligarchs, a group of men who in a short period of time since Orban's election victory in 2010 have amassed astronomical fortunes, bought up substantial assets and institutions within Hungary, received substantial help by Orban's government in attaining their wealth and power. And they are all fiercely loyal and personally connected to their prime minister, to who they lend as much support as they possibly can.
So corruptness.
Vojna, friend of Orban since the 1990s, a Hungarian-American movie producer from Hollywood, was appointed Hungarian film commissioner upon Orban's election, received large government casino licenses as well as favorable terms on loans by state-owned Hungarian banks, something that would be highly illegal in most countries. István Goronci, István Tiborcs, and since 2018 even the children of these oligarchs started establishing businesses and cashing in on lucrative public contracts. There's nothing unusual about the wealthy seeking out the powerful. There's nothing unusual about the super-rich using their wealth to try and sway an electorate and public opinion, or even to support a candidate. What, however, is unusual and unethical in Orban's Hungary is that a group of men not only made their wealth through Orban, but became part of a new Hungarian political power structure. Simiska, Mezros, Goronci and Tiborcs together received 12% of all public contracts awarded since 2007, which were in total 13 times the size of other public contracts. Investigations by transparency organizations have found that these contracts were also in average 25% overpriced, meaning the government could have handed these contracts out to companies at less of a cost. The viability of these is often also questionable, such as a train station through Orban's home village. The train connection to this village, with a population of 1,700, was shut down during the 1970s due to it being barely used and unprofitable. A public contract was still dished out to Mezros to build a barely used train station. Much of the money spent on these public contracts is also not Hungarian tax money, but EU grants. Within the European Union, member states with above average poverty rates are entitled to EU cash grants made possible through the tax revenue of wealthier EU members. These financial grants are meant to be invested in infrastructure projects and other projects by their governments that would lead to investment, economic growth and the consequent decline in poverty. In Hungary, however, these funds are often used differently, such as in public contracts to build a train station that is barely ever used by anyone. But the contract to build it, paid out with the EU money, is valuable and can bring substantial wealth to whoever receives it. The system established under Orban's rule is in essence a political financial favors system that subsidizes government-loyal billionaires. Using EU money in public contracts, Orban built a class of rich oligarchs amongst his friends who use their profits in media and other investments that promote Orban's Fidesz party and at the same time keep themselves filthy rich. What brought Viktor Orban into power was a wave of protests that started in 2006. Riding the waves of public outrage and populism, Viktor Orban was elected into office in 2010. However, instead of tackling the problems deep-seated within the Hungarian state apparatus and
This is so, like, crazy because it just sounds like... It sounds like the first video we watched earlier this week, because I know, you know, the first video is going to come out tomorrow, but the day after I'm shooting this. But it just sounds so crazy. And it's like you were able to make a lot of money from building a railroad that nobody is able to use, like not too many people use anyway. Also, you own property that not too many people use anyway. So it's like, how is this possible? Like, this is insane, honestly. It's very insane. That's how it's seeming to me. Because it wouldn't happen, like this couldn't happen in America just because of the laws that we have against some of the, like certain things like this. But yeah, I can definitely say that this is kind of crazy.
society, Orban instrumentalized these issues to serve himself, his government and close friends. All the while, the overall state of the Hungarian society has not improved. 40% of the Hungarian population lives under the poverty line. Half of these live in extreme poverty. That's more than a third of the population of a country in poverty. An estimated 44% of the population is unable to purchase basic goods. The European average is 19%. Real estate prices have risen by 31%, making an own home unaffordable for the majority of the population. Hungary has the highest child mortality rate in Europe as well as the lowest average life expectancy, both of which are the result of a dysfunctional and underfunded public healthcare system that has been increasingly failing and falling apart since Orban took office. Corruption is increasing as Hungary falls further and further in the International Corruption Index to the point that it is now the third most corrupt European country, just behind Greece and Bulgaria. Hungary under Orban almost seems to have entered a race to the bottom of the worst in everything on the European continent, and if developments continue, it is due to overtake countries such as Romania in poverty and Bulgaria in corruption within the next few years. Orban's measures and policies have mainly benefited his rich friends, such as in 2018 when introducing a labor law that made it viable for companies to demand up to 400 overtime hours from employees a year without compensation.
What? 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 That is That's insane. I would go to the streets rioting for that. What? 400 hours? 400 hours overtime without pay. Yeah, I would just, nah. I'm not, no. That wouldn't be my boss anymore because I would have quit. I just would have been done. Like, because what? You're not even getting paid for it. What? Like, okay. That's insane.
Part of measures introduced by Orban that increasingly cut down on labor rights throughout the country. The measures taken to balance the books and edge the increasingly desolate situation away from total collapse also come in form of burdens on ordinary working people, such as Orban's internet tax from 2014, in which he proposed to tax the online activities of Hungarians. The proposal sparked mass protests that led to the proposal being withdrawn, but became a sort of symbol of how Orban runs the country. However, Hungary's biggest disaster under Orban's government is one that you don't directly see in Hungary itself. You can, however, if you live abroad. If you live in Germany, Google your local doctors and check their last names. You will notice a substantial amount of Hungarian doctors. Over the past years, with a consistent underfunding of the Hungarian health system, a substantial number of Hungarian doctors simply left their country and emigrated to Germany with its better employment conditions and pay for medical personnel. This compounded the increasingly desolate state of the Hungarian healthcare system. In 2017, the Hungarian Medical Association announced that healthcare in Hungary is conducted on a level so bad as during the Second World War. The entire system itself is by now on the brink of collapse due to chronic underfunding and a nationwide exodus of doctors. And it is also a symbol of a larger problem, one of the worst problems a country can have. Hungary is bleeding its single most valuable resource, its people. Since Orban took power in 2010, an estimated 600,000 Hungarians left their country. 80% are under 40 years old. Most head for Germany, the United Kingdom and Austria. 32% of all emigrants are academics. That's 14% more than the Hungarian population average. And 40% of emigrants are craftsmen, engineers and technicians. An entire generation of young and qualified Hungarians have been leaving the country on a scale not seen since the 1915-6 Hungarian refugee crisis. And the impact this has on Hungarian society and the Hungarian economy is undeniable. As Orban builds a football stadium in his 1,700 population birth village, again through government contracts given to his friend
But why do you keep building stuff and you know stuff isn't going to be filled because of the high prices? Like that, you're just, like, did Viktor Orban just hate your country? Like, anybody from Hungary, does he just hate your country? Like, he doesn't even seem like he wanted to do anything. Like, he just seemed like he just wanted all of his friends to get benefits and nobody else to get literally anywhere. Like, that's insane to me, though. Wow, I don't know. This is insane. I want to hear more.
As Roche-Lorenz, paid by the over 30 billion euros in EU aid money given to his government over the course of 10 years, the poverty rates increase and the country bleeds its young and bright, one has to wonder, why has he not been voted out of office yet? And the reason for that is the same reason why in all likelihood the only way you ever heard of Orban before is from some right-wing American or other pundits praising him. While Orban built his oligarchy of corrupt billionaires,
I have no idea. I've never heard of him before. The far right has. I guess because I don't have far right friends or anything, I don't know anybody on the far right. Yeah, I just wouldn't have heard of him. So that could be it.
With their construction, media, football, real estate and casino empires, he kept loudly and vocally raging against foreign billionaires who supposedly are responsible for all the ills befalling Hungarian society, when in fact they are a result of his policies and corruption. He kept loudly proclaiming how the European Union and its policies are responsible for Hungary's decline, while he himself uses the EU's funds given to him to alleviate his country's poverty to stuff them into the pockets of his billionaire friends. He continues to campaign against immigration and migrants, even though nobody even wants to migrate to Hungary under his rule anymore. Hungary has turned into a source of migrants for Europe as more and more people leave the country. And he continuously keeps talking about how proud he is to be a Christian and how unashamed he is to say that. He relies on a populist message to ensure that a certain demographic will continuously vote for him no matter what. And that populist message is intended to hide the hypocrisy and actual circumstances of Hungarian society. As dumb as it sounds, the fact that you probably never heard of the state Hungary currently is in is proof that it works. From Trump to the Heritage Foundation to Katie Hopkins to several other right-wing political pundits, YouTubers and other, people found a liking to Orban because it triggers the libs, left, SJWs or whatever. Even white nationalists, alt-righters and neo-Nazis have found a liking to Orban, who according to them keeps the country white. The thing is though, telling people how much you are not ashamed for being Christian doesn't fix a broken healthcare system. Triggering people on the internet doesn't alleviate mass poverty or end mass immigration of your educated and young workforce. Just as little as having white skin color ends an endemic system of corruption that has existed for almost 10 years. Populism in the case of Orban's Hungary, and especially in his public perception abroad amongst right-wing circles, reveals itself to be fundamentally one thing: a way to cover up real and important issues and to lie to yourself and others about how bad a situation really is. And the fact that you barely knew any of this, that's a testament to how effective populism is, and how ineffective our media is at doing something as basic as reporting on the reality on the ground, by doing something as simple as translating Hungarian articles or asking Hungarians. Instead, within vast parts of the English-speaking media, Orban is condemned because of his association with Trump and for being an anti-immigration prime minister, which is honestly something that should just be laughed at, as he is the prime minister of a country that he has screwed up so much nobody wants to emigrate to it. Nobody, however, in our media landscape has done the research and reporting required to point out the most important thing about Viktor Orban: the 10 years of damage he has inflicted on his own country. This video was made...
That was a very interesting. I've never heard of him. And yeah, he's definitely right. They, just nobody took the time to check and, just go and, translate articles and stuff, which wouldn't have taken that long. They do it for China and stuff like that when they want to get a story from China. But hey, it's kind of irritating. But yeah, that's pretty terrible. If you're in Hungary right now and you're watching, I feel sorry, definitely sorry that the leader of your country is literally. He's able to do worse than Trump was able to do. Because I'm not gonna say he was worse. They're probably about the same side of the same coin. But he was able to do worse because of the laws in Hungary. Hopefully, that everything. Hopefully he somehow he gets out. I don't know, but yeah. Talk to you guys in the next video, and yeah, peace.